What if a routine police patrol led to a discovery so shocking, it changed everything? A starving little girl, an abandoned lot, and a secret that no one was meant to find. What Officer Raymond sees next will leave you questioning reality itself. Stay with me, because this is not just a story, it is a nightmare that will haunt you long after the video ends. Rain dripped from the edge of Officer Raymond Hale's cap. The night was heavy with fog, swallowing the narrow streets in silence. His flashlight cut through the mist, a pale beam trembling against the crumbling walls of the old industrial lot. The radio crackled at his belt, but he switched it off. Something in the air told him to listen. The faint sound of metal scraping came from behind a collapsed fence. He stepped closer, boots sinking into wet mud. The air smelled of rust, damp wood, and something faintly sour. His light passed over shattered glass, a broken tricycle, and a rusted shopping cart. Then, movement. A small figure crouched near a pile of cardboard. Raymond called out, voice low, steady, unsure if anyone would answer. The figure froze. He took another step. The flashlight revealed a girl, no older than 6, her hair tangled, her face pale and hollow. She was holding a tin can, scraping the bottom with her fingers, desperate for something that was no longer there. Her eyes met his. They were wide and frightened, yet strangely calm, like she had already learned there was nothing left to fear. Raymond knelt slowly, his knees touching the cold ground. It is all right, he said softly, reaching out his hand. The girl did not move. Behind her, the shadows shifted. Raymond's breath caught in his throat. He raised the light again, and saw the faint outline of another figure. Someone was lying in the darkness, half covered by torn blankets. He moved the beam closer, heart pounding against his chest. The smell hit him first. Rot and something metallic. He felt the ground tilt beneath him as the light revealed a woman's face, pale, eyes open, unmoving. The girl turned her head slightly, looking at the body. Her voice broke the silence, soft and fragile. She told me to stay here. She said she would wake up soon. Raymond's mouth went dry. He lowered his flashlight, his hand trembling. He could hear the faint hum of the city somewhere beyond the lot, so alive, so distant. The rain fell harder, tapping against the tin cans and broken glass. The girl shivered, clutching the can tighter. Raymond took off his jacket and wrapped it around her small shoulders. She looked up at him, blinking slowly. There was something else in her eyes now. Something that made him step back for a moment. Her lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. Do you hear her? She whispered. Raymond froze, listening. At first, there was only the rain. Then, somewhere behind him, in the blackness of the lot, a soft voice answered. Raymond spun around, the beam of his flashlight slicing through the rain. The voice was faint, like a breath pressed through the walls of the earth. He stepped closer to the sound, every muscle in his body pulled tight. Who is there? He called out. Only the hiss of the rain replied. He turned back to the girl. She was still sitting in the mud, watching him with that same hollow calm. Her small fingers traced patterns in the wet dirt, slow and deliberate. Then the voice came again, clearer this time. Do not take her. Raymond's heart lurched. It came from the same direction as the body. He swung his light toward it, the beam shaking as he moved. The woman's face was still, but her lips glistened with rainwater, or was it something else? Her eyes. He was sure they had been open before. Now they were closed. Raymond stumbled backward, his boot catching on a piece of broken wood. The flashlight fell, rolling in the mud, its beam spinning wildly across the lot. The girl's whisper followed him through the darkness. She does not want to go. Raymond's pulse pounded in his ears. He snatched the flashlight from the ground, its beam trembling as he aimed it toward the girl. But she was gone. The tin can lay where she had been sitting, still rocking slightly as if touched only moments ago. He turned in circles, scanning the shadows. Kid, he shouted. Come back. No answer. Only the creak of metal and the echo of his own breath. Then, behind him, a sound like bare feet stepping through puddles. Slow. Measured. Too close. Raymond turned. The girl stood beside the woman's body again, her small hand resting on the still chest. Her hair hung over her face, dripping with rain. She woke up, the girl whispered. Raymond's throat tightened as a low moan filled the air. It came from the woman, her chest rising in shallow, jerking breaths. But her skin was gray. Her eyes flickered open. And they were not looking at him. They were looking through him. Raymond took a step back, the mud sucking at his boots. The girl smiled again, her voice soft, almost kind. She said you should stay with us. The woman's hand twitched. Then it reached for him. Raymond stumbled backward, his heel striking a rusted pipe. The clang split the night like a scream. He aimed his flashlight, the beam shaking across the woman's outstretched hand. Her fingers were pale, stiff, yet they moved, curling toward him with slow, unnatural grace. Stay, the girl said again, her tone gentle but unyielding. The air grew colder, heavy with the scent of decay and wet soil. Raymond could see his breath fogging in the beam of the light. He tried to speak, but the words caught somewhere between his chest and his throat. The woman's arm lifted higher. Her wrist bent at an angle that made his stomach twist. Then came a sound, bones shifting, cracking softly beneath the skin. The flashlight flickered. Darkness pressed in from all sides. Raymond's pulse thundered in his ears. He reached for his radio, fingers trembling, pressing the button again and again. Nothing but static. He glanced toward the fence he had entered through. It seemed farther now, swallowed by fog. The girl stepped closer to him. Her bare feet made no sound in the mud. Do you hear her? She asked once more, her eyes gleaming in the half-light. Raymond swallowed hard. No one is here, he said. We will get you help. She shook her head slowly. Her hair clung to her cheeks like wet threads. She said you do not listen. The woman on the ground made another sound, a low, rattling breath that seemed to pull the air from the lot itself. Raymond backed away, his flashlight catching movement along the walls. Dark stains, faint but spreading. Words scrawled in something thick and dark. They shimmered under the light like they were still wet. He leaned closer, heart pounding. The letters formed a sentence. She never left. Raymond turned, the flashlight trembling in his hand. The girl was gone again. But her voice was everywhere, soft, whispering through the rain, through the cracks, through the air itself. She is behind you. Raymond froze. The sound of breathing, ragged, close, and wrong, rose just inches from his neck. He turned slowly. You said. The beam of the flashlight wavered as Raymond turned. Behind him stood the woman. Her body swayed like it was held up by invisible strings. Water dripped from her lips, her hair hanging in dark clumps that stuck to her face. Her eyes were wide open now, milky and unfocused, but locked on him. Raymond staggered back, his breath catching in his chest. Her mouth opened slowly. A sound came out, low at first, then rising, like wind moving through hollow pipes. He could not understand the words, but they filled his head, pressing against his skull. He dropped the flashlight. The beam spun across the lot, flashing over piles of debris, broken windows, and finally the girl. She stood motionless, her hands clasped together as if in prayer. She said she remembers you, the girl whispered. Raymond froze, his heart hammering so hard it hurt. Remembers me, he said, his voice trembling. I have never seen her before. The girl tilted her head. She said you promised. A chill ran through his body, deep and sudden, like something old had just touched him. He shook his head. No. I do not know her. I do not. The woman stepped forward. Mud squelched beneath her bare feet. Her arm lifted again, her fingers twitching like she was trying to reach through the air. Raymond stumbled backward until his back hit the side of a rusted truck. He could feel the cold metal biting into his spine. The flashlight flickered once more and went out. Everything was swallowed by darkness. He could hear them breathing, the woman and the girl, on either side of him. Close. Too close. The air grew colder, pressing down, filling his lungs with something that did not feel like air. A hand brushed his sleeve. Another touched his face, wet, freezing, trembling. Raymond gasped and shoved forward, breaking through the shadows, his boots slamming against puddles. He ran toward the faint glow of the streetlights beyond the fence. But the lot stretched longer now, deeper, the fence drifting farther away like a mirage. Behind him came the sound of laughter. Not the laughter of a child, something lower, distorted, echoing off every wall. He turned once more, desperate, searching for the gate. Then he saw it, something carved into the nearest concrete pillar. Fresh, sharp, and wet. His own name. And beneath it, "You came back." Raymond froze. His breath clouded the air, each exhale ragged, uneven. He stepped closer to the wall, unable to stop himself from looking. The letters were carved deep, the edges raw, still glistening with something dark and sticky. He touched the surface with the tip of his gloved finger. Warm. His chest tightened. Behind him, the rain had stopped. The silence was so thick it pressed against his ears. Then, faintly, the sound of humming drifted through the air. A slow, tuneless hum, the same voice as the girl. He turned, scanning the shadows. "Where are you?" he called out. "Show yourself." The humming stopped. A small figure stood at the far end of the lot, just beyond the reach of the dying light. The girl. But she looked different now. Her eyes were darker, her face expressionless, her posture rigid. Something about her shape felt wrong, as if her body was slightly taller than before, her limbs stretched too thin. Raymond's hand went instinctively to his holster. His fingers brushed cold metal, and that touch steadied him for a heartbeat. "Stay where you are," he said. "Do not move." The girl took a single step forward. Her bare foot left no imprint in the mud. "Do you remember the promise?" she asked softly. Raymond's voice cracked. "What promise?" Her eyes shifted to something behind him. Slowly, he turned. The woman was gone. Only the soaked blanket remained, flattened against the earth. Raymond's pulse thudded in his throat. He looked back at the girl. But now she was standing just a few feet away, staring up at him. Rain dripped from her chin, her small hands clutching the edge of his jacket. "She said you left us here," she whispered. Her grip tightened. "You said you would come back." Raymond shook his head violently, his voice trembling. "No. No, that is not true. I have never." A sharp noise cut through his words, a metallic screech, like steel grinding against concrete. He turned toward the sound. The truck he had leaned against earlier began to move, its frame groaning as if something inside it was pushing from within. The headlights flickered to life, weak but steady, casting pale beams across the lot. Inside the shattered windshield, a face stared back at him. His own. But it was not breathing. It was pale, eyes open, lips parted as if frozen mid-shout. Raymond's knees gave out. The girl's voice floated beside him, calm, almost tender. "She told me you would not remember." The truck's engine rumbled to life. And the reflection of his lifeless face began to smile. "You said." Raymond's chest seized. His fingers scraped at the mud as he fell backward, sliding across the wet ground. The flashlight lay a few feet away, its beam flickering weakly, shadows dancing along the walls. The girl crouched beside him, her small hand still gripping his jacket. Her eyes, empty, endless, held him in place. The sound of the truck's engine grew louder, unnatural, echoing off every surface of the abandoned lot. He turned, barely breathing, trying to find an escape. The truck was moving on its own, inching closer with a slow, deliberate precision. Mud squelched under invisible wheels as it glided toward him. Raymond scrambled to his feet. The girl tilted her head, watching him with quiet amusement. She is patient, she whispered. The air shifted, carrying a faint metallic tang. His stomach lurched as he realized the smell matched the dark fluid that had marked the walls and ground. The reflection in the truck's windshield shifted. His own eyes blinked back at him, but the face smiled wider, a twisted, mocking grin. Something inside him screamed to run, but his legs felt heavy, as if rooted to the mud. The girl stepped forward. Her lips brushed his ear. She does not like it when promises are broken. The truck's engine roared, louder now, a sound that seemed to vibrate inside his bones. The headlights flared, illuminating the girl fully. Her shadow stretched impossibly long, merging with the darkness of the lot. Then the truck lurched, moving faster, though no one was behind the wheel. Raymond stumbled back, tripping over a mound of debris. The flashlight rolled across the ground, casting frantic, jerking beams. The girl smiled. And in that moment, Raymond saw the woman's face behind her, faint and transparent, eyes wide with the same hollow calm. Do not leave, the girl said softly, her voice echoing through the lot. Raymond's heart thundered. The truck barreled closer. The shadows of the lot twisted, reaching for him. Every instinct screamed to escape, yet his body refused. And then, the headlights hit him directly. White-hot, blinding. Everything went silent. For a moment, nothing existed but the cold rain, the mud, and the girl's whisper. She remembered you. The world seemed to tilt, collapse, and stretch all at once. Raymond blinked, and the lot was empty. The truck, the woman, even the girl, gone. Only the tin can remained, tipped over in the mud. And inside it, a small folded piece of paper. He picked it up with shaking hands. The writing was faint, almost smeared, but he read it clearly. Next time, do not forget. The rain started again, soft, relentless. And Raymond knew, deep down, that he would never leave that lot. Not really. Not ever. Raymond sank to his knees in the mud, the paper trembling in his hands. The rain washed over him, cold and insistent, as if trying to erase the night's horrors. He looked around the abandoned lot. Everything seemed normal now, broken tricycles, rusted carts, scattered debris, but the emptiness pressed heavily on him. He tucked the paper into his jacket, unsure if it was a warning or a memory. Slowly, he rose to his feet. The fog lifted slightly, revealing the faint glow of the city beyond the lot. Raymond took a deep breath, tasting the rain and the metallic tang that lingered in the air. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed, grounding him back in the world of the living. He stepped forward, boots squelching in the mud, each step heavy with the weight of what he had seen. The lot behind him stayed silent, empty, but he knew the echoes of that night would follow him forever. He glanced down at the tin can, now just a small, ordinary object in the mud. And for the first time, he whispered aloud, more to himself than anyone else. I will not forget. The rain fell steadily as he walked toward the streetlights, leaving the shadows behind, but never truly leaving the memory of the girl, the woman, and the promise that would haunt him always. The city waited, indifferent, as the lot faded into the night. And somewhere deep inside, Raymond understood that some places, and some promises, never let go.